We're live.
Okay. You go around, guys. Can you see clearly on the thing? Okay. Just turn this light on. Crap with the light, eh? Turn it off rather. Better. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better.
Is that light working, Gav?
It is, but it's the white light. Okay, so the hook we're going to be tying this particular fly on is a Gamakatsu SL12S at size 2. Oh, sorry, man. There you go. Okay, so it's a Gamakatsu SL12S. It's a short shank hook because we're going to be tying these little Velcro guys on, which we shaped before. Again, so what I've done is I've made a stencil out of cardboard and I've just cut it out onto patches of Velcro. So again, you can play around with the shape, get the shape that you want to get for. So, for instance, a shrimp pattern would be a lot more elongated, and then you'd use maybe a slightly longer shank hook. Okay, let's start with the fly. We're going to be using dumbbell eyes. Oh, come on. These are formals. For saltwater, you can tie them quite heavy. You know, you can go with lead eyes. These are brass, so they're a little bit light. But you know, for fish like permit, that sort of thing, you want to get the fly down quite deep quickly. So you'd use heavier eyes. But in places like our estuaries and that sort of thing for grunter, they're very spooky fish. So you don't want to be splashing a fly down too heavily. So you'd use a much lighter fly, lead the fish a little bit more. But for this particular one, we'll just use these brass ones. Does everybody know how to attach the brass eyes? We're just going to take it a few wraps over there. So you'll see it catches on the eye there. We're going to tie these right up against the eye of the hook. Basically the same way that you'd start say like a Clouser style fly. Just a few figure 8 wraps around the bead, and then go under the bead and trap all those thread wraps together, pull it tight to keep it nice and firm. Okay, so you can see there I've got it right up against the eye of the hook. Because we're not going to be tying any more material to the front of the hook. Generally with other flies, if you're going to be tying in dumbbell eyes, we're going to be finishing ahead of the fly like Claus's. You want to tie the eyes back a little bit more, give yourself a little bit more room in the front of the eye to finish off. Okay, so we take our thread to the back of the fly, just to the bend of the hook, over there, and we're going to tie in a bit of flash. Just take one strand.
Any particular colour, Dave?
No, you can try and match it to the colour of your fly. I mean, your Velcro that you're going to be tying, I use white. You can mark it. It takes marker quite nicely. So depending on the areas that you're going to be fishing, if you're fishing flat sands where it's nice and white, you want to keep the fly sort of sand coloured tone. So very similar to the bottom. Where if you're fishing places where it's quite muddy, you might want to darken the fly a bit, go a bit darker. So in terms of the flash, look, we got pink here. The flash itself is not so much of a train smasher. It's going to be cut quite short. It's more just to like mouth particles of the crab. So the actual flash color is not so much a problem as it is so for the Velcro. Okay, so you're just going to trap that in under the thread. Let's take it underneath, trap it halfway through the thread. Did you see how I did that? Everybody see that? Okay. Okay. You can take another strand. I wasted a bit there. We can take another strand. Same way again, just trap it underneath. Don't worry too much about getting it sort of very neat. We're going to trim it back quite a lot, so we're going to trim it back sort of to about there. So don't worry about too much neatness. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to put in our eyes. Now, a little trick we need to do here, because we want the eyes to be splayed, we're going to build up a bit of a bump at the back here. So when we tie in the mono eyes, it's going to press against the bump and it's going to force them apart. So just at the back there, on the bend again, just build up a nice thread base. Yeah, it happens. Okay, so we got a nice thick bump over there, enough to splay the eyes. And we're going to take our mono eyes. Again, the colour of the eyes don't really matter. I mean, this is all the shop had at the time when I bought them, so these are pink, so it'll actually go quite nicely with the flash and the Velcro. But you know, when you're making eyes, you know, I took the lazy route and went and bought them. But you can make eyes with a bit of epoxy, or a nice way is that UV knot sense. It works quite quickly. So you just put a little dip on, take it outside. As soon as you put it in the sun, it goes hard. So that's the cheaper way of doing it. The lazy man's way is just going to go and buy a bunch. We've made some here with plastic beads, and they actually worked out quite nicely. Okay, so you're going to take your eye, and you want to tie these in on the side of the hook. So just give it a nice firm wrap, just to start it with, just to keep it on the side. We're going to take these back, sort of just past the bend of the hook. Sort of just to there. So if I put my Velcro on here, you'll see how it sticks out just out on the outside of the eye there. We can actually move this in a little bit more. We'll take in just a bit more. Just give that mono a bit of a pull. Okay, that looks good. And we're on the side of the hook, so just keeping nice. We want to keep a nice even base, because when we stick the Velcro on, we're going to super glue it on there, and we want to get it directly onto the hook. So keep the underside of the hook nice and flush. Take that back to the dumbbell eyes, and you can just trim that little piece off. And we'll get our other eye. Just a trick when you're tying on any sort of mono or most materials anyway, because you're talking down with your bobbin, it's always going to pull the material to the other side of the hook. So always start it just a little bit above where you want the material to finish. So with this one, I'm just going to start it just a bit. I'm going to start it on the top of the hook, because when I torque down, it's going to pull it down to the side of the hook. Trap it in there. Check that they're the same. So this one's, just give it a bit of a pull. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and then just take your thread to the back. Yeah, we're going to cut that off. So see now with that thread bump at the back there, how it's kicked the eyes out a bit. Not overly, but it's if we didn't put that there, they'd be touching each other, and that's a bit close. Obviously, you guys have seen crabs have got quite a wide face, if you want to call it that, so you want to keep the eyes nice and wide apart. Okay, so what we're going to do now, if you have a rotary vise, we're going to turn the fly over. If you don't have a rotary vise, just take the hook out and turn the fly upside down. Because with the eyes, the dumbbell eyes on the base of the underside of the hook, it's going to force the fly to ride that way up. It's going to keep our hook proud all the time. That sort of prevents it from sort of snagging on the bottom, especially fishing over reefy areas or rocky areas. Keeps the hook sitting proud. So we're going to turn that over, and we're going to take some zonker. Right, the zonker is going to be used for our pincers. Don't need too much, so that'll probably do. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
That'll do both our pincers. So we'll take that and we'll cut it in half. We're going to tie it quite short. We don't want to build up too much bulk on the hook again, because we're sandwiching it between Velcro. You want to keep it quite minimalistic, so that you can get the Velcro to glue itself to attach together. When you glue it, you can clamp it down and hold on to each other. So we're going to take it like this. What we're going to do is we're going to trap most of the fibre off, and then cut the back end of the zonker strip off. So that's about as much as you're going to need. You're not going to need too much more than that. And what this does, when because the glue, you can either glue it or you can epoxy it. The fly itself goes quite hard, but with the rubber legs and the zonker strip pincers, it gives us quite a bit of movement. So when you're retrieving the fly, and you stop it static, the current's going to move the pincers around. It's going to give it quite a lot of movement and lots of triggers for the fish. Okay, so we've got our strip, roughly that long. You see it there? And we're going to tie this on top of the hook. So you can see we have stopped my thread. So where the point of this, you can take it back just a little bit, and that should be fine. Make your life easier to work with zonker. Just give it a bit of spit, wet it down, and then the fibers sort of behave themselves, make it a lot easier to work with. Okay. When you're tying in things like any sorts of hairs, always give it one loose wrap just to start with, just so you catch everything down first. Make sure you've got it where you want it to be. And then, again, like everything else, when we start to tighten, it's going to pull itself over the top of the hook. Just take it back there. Right. And then the next one again. Put it sort of around there, on top of the hook. Just a loose wrap to catch all the fibers. Make sure you got them a similar length. And just tighten down on it. Okay, because we don't want too much bulk, we're just going to trim that little bit of excess skin off at the back. And then just neaten it up a bit. Right, so in terms of tying, that's the gist of the fly. We're not going to use too much more material. The rest is going to be using super glue and placing things. So in terms of tying, that's it. It's a very quick, simple fly to tie. And again, you can adjust it in little bits, little ways. So maybe if you're not looking so much for a crab pattern, you can do it more of a shrimp style pattern, where maybe you have one piece of zonker coming over the top of the hook, and your Velcro is thinner. You'll have a much narrower sort of profile, and you'll have a nice shrimp pattern that you can fish. For things like grunter, they love those sort of sand prawns, those sorts of flies.
Turn it sideways.
Okay, so you can see it there. I've put it all on top of the fly, and the underside of the fly is nice and flat. Okay, so we can take our thread to the front of the fly, and we can finish that off. And take your thread away. Right, so again, that's it. So just a quick recap on the materials we did. Put your eyes in quite nice and flush up against the front of the eye. Take it back, a few strands of flash, a nice big bump at the back to split the eyes, and then your pincers are going to be tied in on top of the fly. Okay. So what I've done is we've stenciled out a whole bunch of of crab bodies for you guys. Just need to trim them, and these are quite nice because I tried that furry foam once, and it's not great stuff to work with. It's very, very soft. It's almost gummy, and it tears. So I actually thought it would be more of a Velcro type style material, but it's actually not great. But for the Velcro, it's nice and firm underneath, so it's quite easy to work with. And because this is sticky, you can place it and you can get a feel of where you want to get the thing, and it's not going to slide around. So I can see that's kind of where I want to be. What I can do is, if I tied the eyes in a bit short, you can actually just trim out a little bit of a wedge out of the Velcro, and then your eyes will still be quite. What would you say? They'd protrude a bit. Yeah, proud. Okay, so that's where we want it. We're going to take a bit of super glue. The super glue with a brush is quite nice to work with. Make sure you get your fibers out of the way, and just put a little bit of super glue down there. And make sure you get, because you only get one shot at this, so when you put it down, you have one shot. So make sure you've lined it up nicely, and then just push it down, and there it is. So we've got that down, and that's now going to be the base for all of our other work. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the flower over again. So again, if you don't have a rotary vise, you're going to take the flower out, turn it upside down again, because this is now going to be our base to work on. What we're going to do is we're going to get our legs, and you can tie the legs in, but with all the super glue we're going to be using, it's not necessary, and it's a technique that you can use with almost any other flower. Bit of super glue on the shank, and you just press a piece of rubber in there. It's not going to go anywhere. The legs are going to actually break before they actually pull out of the flower. So it's an easy, lazy way of putting in things like rubber, quick and easy. Just a little drop of super glue, touch a piece of material there, and it'll stay there. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so we've got our legs. And what we're going to do is, at the base of where we tied in that zonker strip, you'll see there's a bit of a bump there. You can see it there. We're going to put the legs just behind that base there. So we're going to pull them up. We're going to put a drop of super glue, pull the legs out quite nice and tight, and we're just going to hold it there and give it 5 seconds. It's going to be on there. You can let it go, and it's not going to go anywhere.
What are you using for legs, Dave?
Okay, so this is just round rubber. Yeah, you can get it anywhere really. You can use that I forget what it's called. Those silly legs, if I'm not mistaken. They're almost like those they use on those bass lures, those skirts. But it's very soft, and often what happens is, they're full of like little flakes of sparkle or glitter, and sometimes there'll be a piece of glitter on the edge where it hasn't sealed, and you just touch it and they break. So this round rubber is a lot more durable. Okay, so we're going to take our super glue again. Just put a drop behind there. Take your legs, pull them, try to get it sort of halfway, and we're just going to hold it there for a little while. And there we go. So there they are. So you don't have to suckle trying to, doing cross wraps and tying in and building up bulk when you don't need to. And you can do it with lots of flies. I mean, you often tie, different styles of woolly buggers that have, you have rubber legs sticking out all over the place. And again, rather than trying to tie them in, just put a drop of super glue tied in, because the material you're going to tie over it is going to hold it in place anyway. Okay, so we got those. Take your bodkin, if I had it here, or your scissors, and I suppose you can just pull these apart. And just strip them. Okay, we've got our legs stripped. What we're going to do is keep your zonker out of the way. And again, we're going to get these into a position where we want them sort of evenly spread apart. So we hold it like that. We're going to spread them 4 legs either side, sort of like that. Can you see that? And again, all it is going to be, you're just going to hold the leg in place, drop a super glue, hold it there for a second, and it'll set. And then the next leg. So if I do the one side, I'll do the one side, and then I'll show it on the screen there. Just take a bit of super glue, get it to where you need it. Just a drop of super glue, and you can hold it there, and it's done. Got super glue on that leg. Again, you only get one shot at this, so got to have a slightly steadier hand than I do. Okay, so there I've got them into position, and it was literally just hold it in the spot, pull it tight, just a drop of super glue, and it's there. You don't even have to hold it for any longer than 2 seconds, and it's in position. I'm going to do the same with the other side. Okay, so we've got our legs glued in there, and then because this you can't get that other Velcro where it doesn't have the adhesive on the other side. That works just as fine. It's just a lot harder to draw in. Like you can't really sketch your stencil on it. And at the same time, the nice thing with this adhesive stuff is that you can just press your zonker onto it, and it'll hold it in place. So it's not super glue, but it's going to hold it in position while you super glue your next piece of Velcro on top of it. When you tie your zonker in, try to get it so that the skin is facing down, because once you press it on there, it makes the fur on top nice and flat. Once you glue it down, you don't have the skin holding it up on the other side. The fur is going to be on top of it, holding it down. The skin is going to be on the underside of the fly. Right, so we've got our pincers ready to go. Next piece of Velcro. And this is the really tricky part. Okay, so again, just wet your fingers a bit, get the fur where you want it to be. Try to keep your fingers out of the way here, because we're going to get quite a bit of super glue on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to brush a bit of super glue on the top of the hook over there, and also onto this piece of Velcro over here. So just put a base, just give it a liberal brush all over the place where you want it to stick, and then on your Velcro itself. Trying to get on your fingers, and again, you've got one shot at it, so try get it. You take it underneath the hook, and then just press it down where you need it. So you can see it there. I haven't pressed it down yet. I've got it where I want it to be. I'm happy with that, and then I'm going to press it down. Press it down and hold it for a little while. Right, and that's just about that. You've pressed it down. You can go around the edges with more super glue and just sort of put a drop here and there if you want to seal it completely. But that's about it. We can mark the legs now. Take a black permanent marker or any. You can change it. Look, if you feel that the orange is a bit much, you can change it up a bit. You can put something a little bit more natural, some slightly duller colors. I'm going to take it out of the vase to mark it. Just put it on the back. Can I use this one? Can I use the meeting, eh? Can I use this one? Just give it a mark the edges, however you feel. I mean, this is just, I think this is more just for the fishermen than anything else. This is not so much, I don't think this makes too much of a difference to the fish, but it just makes the fly look a little bit more attractive. Nah, not fun. Hey? Yeah. And we can just trim the flash out the back here. This is, again, to be sort of the mouthpiece of the fly, of the crab. So you don't want this flash in the front here. You don't want it too long. So we can take it and then just give it a nip, and you'll see I got the length there. And that's just a little bit of something for, again, probably more for us than anything, but it just gives the fly a little bit more life. So there's the underside of the fly. That's the way the fly is going to be riding in the water. Right, and that's it, done. A quick and easy fly to tie. Again, you can adapt it to situations. Like, again, this is more the style of fly that the guys will be fishing in, tropical areas, fishing for things like permit and bonefish, things that we're not really going to see too much of on our coast. But change the style of the fly up a bit, change the shape of the Velcro, and you'll have a great little ghost crab pattern for fishing in the surf for things like wave garrick, fishing it in the estuaries for things like, in different styles, maybe like a shrimp style pattern or prawn pattern for spotted grunter, that sort of stuff. It's an awesome little fly. And again, the guys, like I said, have been fishing the style of fly for trout, and have been catching trout on it. And I'm sure bass would have a field day with this thing as well. Yeah. So there you go, the Velcro crab.
Well done. Well done, David. Well, those dumbbell arms are just really to go away.
Yeah, so the dumbbell eyes are going to turn the fly over. Yes. Ideally, look, these are a little bit light. I mean, this is, again, you're going to be fishing in quite shallow water, so you don't need it too heavy. And maybe to slightly spookier fish where a big plop is going to spook fish. But in deeper water or fishing, especially in the surf zone, you want to maybe put lead eyes on there or tungsten eyes that are going to be a lot heavier. As it hits the water, it's going to turn the fly over, and you're going to be on the bottom already. So again, the eyes are something different you can play around with. Another style of doing eyes is if you take mono, and instead of tying in the dumbbell in the front there, if you have beads, what you do is you tie the mono on the underside of the hook, because we want the hook to be riding upwards. So you tie the mono in on the underside. We forget about the dumbbell eyes completely. You tie your fly as you would, and then what we'd do is we'd thread beads onto this mono over here. So tungsten beads, or that ideally nice and heavy, and you'd pull it back around, and it'd sit like this. So you'd have a loop. I don't know if you can see that there. You'd have a loop sitting on the underside of the fly with beads on it, and you can sort of make it say about that sort of size, and that will you can add say 3 or 4 mil tungsten beads, and that's a lot of weight that you can add onto the fly, and that'll turn a fly over every day of the week. It'll never ever ride the other way around, and that's a style the guys have been tying quite a lot now recently, and it's a great little method, little trick to get flies to turn over. Right, crack on, guys. There's materials here. We've cut out some stencils. There's hooks, there's stencils, and eyes. There's zonker strip there for you. I think this zonker is a little bit shorter than normal zonker, so you can take a longer piece of